And hello everyone, my name is Surtur from Slitherine and welcome back to another Twitch weekly session. Let me pan that up a bit. My name is Surtur from Slitherine and today we'll be playing Order of Battle Pacific in celebration of the Mac release of Order of Battle, which was released today actually, as well as in celebration of a recent patch. So what you're seeing now over here is one of the new features that come with the patch and with the Mac release. It is the mod launcher, which is activated automatically as soon as a mod is installed. So we've got a test mod over here to show whenever you launch the game, one mod's installed, you can get to choose whether you want to keep playing the original or one of the mods. So this is like a purely mod folder. Mods can now be created very easily, managed very easily, and this is really one of the community features that can be done with the new support for it. So we're going to jump into a battle in a second after I show you some of the new features. Please let me know if you have any feedback regarding sound levels, quality levels, or anything like that, and I might be able to fix it for you should anything appear. And let's jump right in. So I'm going to play one of the original game here, an unmodded game. But again, the mod launcher is there, so you can play completely mod foldered games. And here we are at the main menu of Order of Battle Pacific, and already, if you already own the game and you come back to it right now, you miss a couple, you'll see a couple of new things. And one of the new things we can see here is in the top right, we have the new check for new downloadable content button. And what this does is actually will allow us to fill this up with a good number of new scenarios and new skins or what have you. With extra content you can download in-game, and this can be officially generated content or user-generated content, as we're going to show right now. So one of the scenarios I'm going to play tonight, I will be playing the Betio Island scenario, which is actually a community scenario made by Eric Nygaard, and this is about the US invasion of the island in 1943. When will the new patch come out? That's an excellent question. The patch was actually just made available. So Steam, if you own the game on Steam, it should be downloaded automatically. If it's not yet, try restarting your Steam client. It should be able to find it. And if you don't have the Steam version, but you have the Slitherine version, you can, or the Matrix Games version, you can use the update tool from the game menu or from the game launcher, as well as the manual download you can find on our websites. So that will give you access to already these scenarios, which is the first batch of downloadable content scenarios that you can access from in-game. So grabbing community scenarios, grabbing new official scenarios has never been easier. So you just click on it and you hit the install button and it will be downloaded immediately. So that's how easy it really is. So it's a great system. So that's one of the new things, and this will fill up not just with scenarios, but for example with custom skins as well, which is another new feature into the game, which I'm going to show as soon as we jump in game. So for those who are unfamiliar with Order of Battle Pacific, it is a turn-based hex-based strategy game set during the Pacific War, World War II, Japanese versus the Americans. A couple of other nations that were involved are represented in the game as well, Philippines, British, Dutch, etc. And it allows you to recreate any lot of the battles that happened historically, both on sea, in the air, and on land. Here we can see the custom scenario that I downloaded in advance, that we saw from this menu over here, and it's the Betio Island scenario. And again, a user-generated scenario, and we're going to invade this nice island. So we got a custom scenario description over here. And this is just something, also shows you what you can actually do with the scenario editor that already comes with the game. So everyone will be able to create these types of scenario with the editor that comes with the game. It's very easy, very fun to do, and to create your own challenges. And these can be historical challenges such as this one, or they can be very ahistorical challenges or what-if scenarios if you want to have your imagination take its run. So we're going to hit launch and we're going to start this scenario playing as the Americans. We're going to get our loading tip. And if you have any questions on the game, or if you or on anything else really regarding us, regarding Slitherine, please go ahead and type it in the chat. Any feedback's more than appreciated, as well as any tips you might have for playing or any strategies you'd like to see employed. So the mission briefing awaits. Let's start the briefing. This is the moment we've been waiting for. It's time to get on the offensive. This is the first time the US Marines will enter a contested beach. Good luck. Players should only land seaborne units at beaches or ports. Any destroyed core units can be purchased. Alright, let's start the game. So the AI is playing the first turn here, and in a moment we'll be able to view the game. Need to make Wake Island. Well, that's definitely something you would be able to do yourself with this game. But there's a good chance someone else will make it sooner or later, and it might end up in the menu we briefly showed before. So here we get our turn overview. We got 4 main locations we have to take. We got the very bottom right of the island. We got a location. That will be the most difficult one probably. We got one over here. We got the fuel dump, which is right in between the two. Alright, and we have a coastal battery over here. Now this one should fall relatively quickly. We'll have it nicely surrounded. And there are a number of secondary objectives as well. Okay, so that's all fine. Let's close that for now. Let's have a brief look at the map over here. So we have tons of units awaiting on shore already. We don't have money, so everything we can purchase has been purchased before and has already been deployed. We're going to have to storm the beaches. And one of the difficulties with that, and that's also highlighting a feature that really sets this game apart, is that we have to take very careful. We have to be very careful with our supply lines, because obviously when you storm the beaches, you are out of supply. Unless you capture a supply source. So this is the scenario as it is. We have tons of landing craft with units with marines in them mostly waiting to be landed. We have some ships to support the offensive and some fighters as well in the air. And here we got a huge pier, and we are gonna take control of that. So this is gonna basically be our supply point from the north initially. So let's start with that. Let's start by selecting a unit. These are the Hawkins snipers, and let's start at landing them onto this base. And you can see that the Japanese flag is swapped for a US flag, and this US flag over the next turns will slowly go up, up and up until we've completed the occupation of this town, and with it we can use it as a supply source. So at the moment it's still not a supply source for us. We can see if we hit the space button, we can see the different supply values. We can see that we generate 0 supply. So that's going to take some time. In the meantime, I'm going to move my other transports into position, and they're going to go on land as soon as possible for that. We got some airplanes as well on these carriers. I don't really want to be bothered with them right now. I don't think that's of any use. That you can actually see a tiny airplane on the carrier, so you can see which carriers still have planes on them that can be launched and which don't. So that's a very nice touch here. A very nice touch to an already beautiful game, if I may say. So having done that, let's go from right to left and start landing units. So like I said, as soon as you land units, your units will be out of supply. They will consume 4 supply each of the marines, and they won't generate any, and the beaches won't generate any supplies of course either. So that's why we have some of these supply ships here. Now these supply ships will be of great help in getting supplies to the marines early in the game. Oops. So let's keep landing our units there. Excellent. And we're going to move a supply ship next to the area where our marines just landed. And you will now see that the supply ship is generating lots of supplies for these units over here. Having done that, let's start engaging the enemy. Let's start chasing it. over here is a supply base, so this is something we need to capture as quickly as possible in order for our invasion to succeed properly. And we have a supply ship over here. So let's start landing on the coast. And let's move these guys in. And by landing these guys over here, they are in line. They are within the same supply zone, so they are in supply now as well. So if I land these guys, for example, they will be out of supply and they will be a vulnerable target in a couple of turns. So I might want to wait until, for example, these guys are dealt with. Or perhaps I can land them next to them. Give them a hand. So these are MG foxholes, and we just saw one appear over here. That's because they aren't always visible. They can be very well hidden. So you won't know all the time where they are. Sometimes you will try and land somewhere and actually fortified with an MG, it actually prevents you from safely landing there. So we dealt with this one, and now all these four are also in supply. So that's very nice, and these guys are actually immediately isolated by it. Move up. Let's see if we can do a little bit of bombing on them. Doesn't do a whole lot, but you know. So far so good. We landed some units and we managed to get them all into some sort of supply zone. Now let's go over here where things are a bit more tricky. So soon we'll have supplies coming up from over here, but it will take a couple of turns. Luckily we have some support over here. The island is well defended indeed, and I'm not sure how strong the enemy is in the inlands. As we can see, there's a combination of jungle, there's a combination of more urban area, there's some open ground. But the road to the final objective all the way down here is very long and possibly very difficult. And let's see, so we got some artillery up the coast here, which is actually a juicy target. They got some AA guns, they got some Darien infantry, more AA targets. So let's see, what's the most effective way over here? Right, so I wanted to actually land these marines over here, but it's defended by a foxhole. I could land them one hex next to it, but again, I would be out of supply then, so I'm hesitant to do so. I got a destroyer here that could provide some coastal artillery or some coastal fire. So let's target their artillery to prevent them from doing too much damage to us. So that's going reasonably well. I'm playing very cautiously. It's a shame Alex isn't joining us tonight, joining me tonight, because he loves amphibious invasions, as he demonstrated in the previous streams. So he would have certainly loved this, but oh well, just me today. So we got some tanks here, some Shermans in a bigger transport, but I'm not sure when to drop them. Let's start landing over here and start making some space. Yes, the ships are actually moving in the water. We'll see some. Let's try some fire here on some of the enemy. See the ship turn toward it and let all his cannons go loose. The bigger the ships, the more awesome it looks, to be honest. Something we won't see in this particular scenario, but which is also a really nice touch, and actually my favorite part of the game is to see the ships sink. They will slowly go underwater, and if they sink in shallow water, we'll actually see part of it still, even after it's sunk. So it's a very nice touch, very cool. So if we can chase these guys out, like we're doing here, we're actually creating more space for some of the other units to land. And again, these guys are nicely in supply. And next turn we'll move up and let the tanks land as well. Now turning over here, and we actually have our first primary objective over here, and we're gonna bombard the. We're gonna use basically everything we have in the area to bombard it, including a Colorado class battleship. There we go. You can actually see the turrets individually spinning toward the target when it hits, which is a very nice touch as well. So we're gonna slowly do damage there. If anything more in the area, we got some, some bombers. And let's land some Marines to take it out. There we go. Place the supply ship over there. So they are in supply for now at least, but if the enemy moves up 1 hex, they'll be out of supply again. So that might be a small judgment error to have them move up. Get some destroyer escorts, so let's have them start firing on the enemy. Taking out some anti-air, so that's safe now as well. And let's soften up the enemy infantry. Might not do a whole lot, but... And we can see from the sandbags here across the enemy that the enemy is dug in. So dug in enemy obviously are fairly resistant to attacks. And infantry will automatically start to dig in whenever they are idle for several turns. Infantry don't like to stay in one place without digging in. So we got some transport here, but nothing to back them up with, so I'm going to leave them in reserve for now, I think, until I can push south more. And we have another battery over here, another coastal battery. 80mm coastal gun, and we're going to give it some punishment as well. So we got more battleships here. One of the things I really like about this game is that the animations you see, you can watch them, they're quite beautiful to watch. If you don't like them, if you don't have the time to watch them every time, you can just continue playing. Nothing stops you from issuing new orders, etc. So we broke that up, so we can move these guys forward. And let's land over here. We got a nice landing force on this end. And so far, as far as we can see, it's not overly defended. So let's move them up, and next turn we can start dropping our units. And already we find the first enemy resistance. We got a supply ship to back it up. So we found some dug-in enemy. They're dug in the jungle, so they can be pretty tough to fight. We can actually engage our onboard machine, or use our onboard machine gun to engage them, which, as you might expect, is not overly useful. And we have some more units over here. And we got a single landing vehicle over here. Let's bombard the coastal batteries. I don't want to take fire from them if I don't have to, so I'm gonna make them primary targets. Where is the Japanese Navy? Well, it's basically already been dealt with prior to this scenario. This is all about the invasion itself, but if you want the Japanese Navy, there are definitely tons of scenarios in there with the Japanese Navy. Actually, there's a full Japanese campaign where you play the Japanese yourself. There's a fairly decent amount of Navy scenarios in there. Gonna move our carrier a bit. So we have some airplanes flying around, and we have some carriers as well, because every every amount of turns, in this case, after 11 turns, this aircraft will have to return to the carrier to refuel. So that's taken into account as well. So I think we covered the entire front, or everything we wanted to move, we moved. So having done that, we're going to hit and turn. And we're going to let the AI do its stuff. And the AI is going to form up a counterattack now. They're targeting me on different sides. Can they cut my supply lines where I just created them? And there we go. So we got a turnover view. So we captured our first victory objective by taking the coastal battery location. The other three are still pretty far away, especially the main one, which, as we saw, is all the way down south. So that's going to be that's going to take some effort to deal with. Where were we? There we go. Going back again, let's see what happened. So far, there was a limited counterattack, really, so we're still in pretty good position. So let's just continue from right to left like we did previously. Or let's start again at the top point. So this flag is slowly rising, so that's good. I'm going to let my tank as well, my light tank. They're going to drive down south as quickly as possible, taking all this terrain, so the supply line will be extended. And these guys are going to move south per ship. And let's go back then. So these will have to push together with this group for this supply point. After that one's taken, we should be fairly comfortable in that perspective. And after that, they'll probably want to push south. So let's start by continuing to harass this artillery. So we're chasing them out. I'm chasing perhaps a bit too much for comfort, but I do want to take out as many troops as possible. So far, so good. And let's try and merge these two. Take the town. We are surrounding these guys, and this will actually show you this support feature. So when I use select this unit, or let's select the other unit, it might be better. No, not really. So when I select my unit and hover over the enemy unit, you can see the damage prediction. So this prediction, we do 2 damage, they do 1 damage. It's a prediction, so it doesn't have to be 1-on-1 always. But we can also see the blue cross underneath the other unit, the supporting unit. If I select this one, you can see it on top, the unit above there, and that means that they're being supported in the flanks. So that gives you a combat bonus. So we're taking some casualties here, but that's fine really. I don't really mind. I just want to deal as much damage as possible to them. There we go. And I accidentally moved my unit up. I shouldn't probably have done it. I should have guarded the point, because if the enemy walks in and takes it again, it will take longer for me to secure it. So it's a bit of a silly move on my part. I'm going to send these guys in just to secure the troops over here. There we go. I got some units in here. I think this is artillery that we got over here. So I don't want to deploy them quite yet, because that would deploy them into the front line immediately. And they would be quite vulnerable. So I'm going to wait until the beach is more or less secure. No VRN. There wasn't like this. No. This support feature like this one is, I think it's new to this game. In the sense that there was a support feature in Panzer Corps, if I recall correctly, but the way it was shown and the way it worked was somewhat different. And let's keep bombarding the enemy. I'm not sure which target to pick. I'm not sure it really matters, to be honest. They're all fairly weak. And here you see I tried to land actually, but I was blocked by a MG foxhole. So I'm going to have to try that again next turn. But that's fine. So let's see if we can take out this little guy. There we go. And clear some space for a new landing. Let's do some scouting. And we land right above an anti-aircraft gun, I think. But so far it seems fairly empty over here, so that's a good thing. There we go. Move these guys up here. So here we actually encountered some pretty heavy resistance. They got some infantry units, they got some armored units, and an anti-tank gun as well. There we go. Let's try and create a hole into their lines. And let's land our own armor unit. So we got some nice Shermans over here. I'm going to try and use them to engage the enemy armor unit, especially after we just took out their anti-tank gun. I don't really want to engage these guys just yet because they're fairly dug in, so I prefer to wait until I can encircle them or something like that. Let's check over here then. So far things went well on this end. We need to take out these guys now. So let's focus some firepower on them to weaken them. And while we aren't inflicting casualties per se, oh we got one there, we are lowering their efficiency, which means they're more vulnerable to attacks. There we go, these guys are getting pounded. pounded and destroyed. Let's scout a bit further south, and we can see that there's not a whole lot of defenses other than the ones hidden. So yes, there is a American campaign, there is a Japanese campaign, and there's a tutorial campaign with 4 scenarios in it as well. So there's quite a lot of content in there, and again, you can make your own scenarios. This is actually a user community-generated scenario. So this is one of the scenarios made by a community member. In the same way you can do it if you buy the game. There is an editor that comes right with the game, installs right with the game, and is fairly easy to use. So now that we've done this, we've secured the tip of the island over here. We can start moving in our other guys and link up sooner or later when we start producing supplies from this point as well. So I'm not overly afraid of these artillery or anti-tank artillery and field artillery pieces. They should be dealt with relatively easily. If unsupported, artillery is not the strongest unit out there. We did encounter the infantry that ran. Unfortunately, we can no longer engage them, and as well as a hidden foxhole, which we'll have to deal with in order to connect the supply lines. So let's scroll south again. Let's do some scouting. See some enemy infantry. And we're gonna initiate landing operations here. We can see some armor and some foxholes, and we will have to deal with them. There we go. And we move into the supply ship. Let's try and weaken the armor a bit. Because I think they can really damage my infantry on the beaches. So if I wear them down a bit with artillery fire, I hope to do a nice amount of damage. There we go. So this point seems to be relatively weakly defended, so that's one victory point we should be able to take relatively quickly as well. So that's good news. And having done that, I think we covered the entire front again. So we're going to hit enter. We shall see what the AI comes up with, if they're going to launch a counterattack immediately or try and recover as many troops and reorganize before they attack. Looks like they're trying to reorganize rather than launch a counterattack immediately. They're replenishing their losses, especially for their tanks, which they want to preserve. Which is probably a good thing to do for them. I was hoping to take out as many troops as quickly as possible, so once they start going into inland, basically, that would face less resistance. Because there in the jungle, it can still be a pretty darn heavy fight. Yes, there are 5 difficulty levels in game. Well, you could call it luck, Viran, but I like to call it skill, really. Yeah. It's all about reading the mind of the enemy. Oh, come on, I would never do that. Yeah, the Japanese sun rotating there can be very mesmerizing, actually, if you stare into it too long, which is not advised. So the enemy is thinking, pondering over its moves. They were clearly not counting on such a well-organized amphibious assault. There's a lot of animations you can turn on or off, or increase the speed or lower the speed. There's a lot of way in which you can actually tweak this game to fit your own playstyle. If you're used more to board games, for example, you can even tweak the map to go into 2D mode, if I recall correctly. That's just one of the many ways how you can customize the game yourself. Also, the glow you see around the units can be tweaked if you don't like it, or have it only appear in specific types of terrain. The size of the sprites can actually be increased if you want to see them better. Well, there's a whole bunch of things you can do. Alright, so it's our turn again, and the flags should be up there next turn or in 2 turns, and in the meantime we're going to drive south. You can see these units are out of supply by the red dot, so I really don't want to start fighting with them at the moment. They're a fairly safe position over here, so I'm not too concerned. So having done that, we're going to move right to left again. So we got some better enemy units over here. Luckily they didn't reclaim this point, so I'm going to secure it again quickly. Actually push the enemy out. Chase him. All the way into the jungle. You're gonna keep one here to secure the point. Let's engage these guys. I could bring in more guys over here. I got the transport here. I got a assault vessel over here, but I'm not sure if my supply stores would be able to handle that. I already got a decent bunch of troops. Hey Pat Garrett, glad you could join us. So this is going very well, actually. We encounter very limited resistance. Let's scout ahead a bit and see if there's anything more. Excellent. Here things are a bit more tricky. I mean, we've landed, we got a decent enough foothold, but the enemy is well dug in. So let's see what's the best way to proceed. I've been fairly cautious here at this point. Let's start landing and try and link up. Actually, I think they'll be without supply for some time, but might still be the best thing to do. It's okay to take a little bit of risk every now and then, I suppose. Especially if it means dealing with enemy artillery. Actually, these destroyers provide a bit of supply, so they can supply up to 1 infantry unit. I got 2 over here, so that's not going to work out unless I move these guys up, I think. That ought to do it. If I move this destroyer, 1 hex next turn, they should be within supply as well. So that could have gone a whole lot worse. We all deserve to be lucky every now and then. Here we're gonna make some room for our artillery, which has got a very nice range, as you can see by the white lines. So if I can protect this, I can use this foothold fairly well. And we're gonna repair these units. We're not gonna push. And here we can see white or yellow dots, sorry, which basically means that there is supply, but just not enough for all troops. So I'm going to have to link up with a source or capture a source sooner or later. I'm going to move my destroyer to provide that bit extra as well. Move my tank, and if I can align these at some point, that would be really awesome. I'm going to see how much resistance I'll face doing that. It's a bit risky because it risks my tank being out of supply at some point, being cut off, but everything's going so well up until now, it's okay to take a bit more risk. And let's start pounding at these guys. There we go. Take them out. Next turn we should be able to create a bit of a safe haven to land our artillery on shore. And then the enemy should be really watchful. So moving here again, things were going fairly well here. We can start landing these guys in, and they align immediately with the enemy. Take out this artillery. We're gonna go push south. Clearing these. There we go. Take out the infantry. Ooh. We found some artillery, but it's protected by an AA gun. We use some of the heavy guns from our ships. Let's bring these guys in as well. And a whole bunch of our troops are now have landed now on the island, really. That's correct, Slitherine. A yellow point doesn't mean I'm not in full supply, but they're Marines. They're used to it. As long as it's not red, I'm happy, really. There we go. Proper surround and destroy. Let's see if we can move inward a bit. Don't really want to engage the tank. Took out this coastal battery, so that's definitely a good thing. And let's see if we can use our battleships here to counterattack. That's how you take on a tank, guys. Let's move in our destroyer for some bit of extra supply. So there we go. That went fairly well. But again, will we be able to reach the objective? This is going to take such a long time to reach here. So that's one of the tricky parts of this scenario. Plus, once we move land inward, there's tons of places the enemy can hide and fight, like delay combat. So that's going to be fairly interesting. But here you can see just one of the ways in which air, naval, and land battles are tied together in this game. This is really the Pacific War in its full scope. And some scenarios will be more land-based, some will be more naval-based, some will be more air-based. But usually there's at least two present that have to work together properly, like the Air Force and the Marines, or the Navy and the infantry. Gonna land these guys. They're unprotected, but I don't see any enemies nearby, so I'm hoping it's safe, actually. So having done that, let's end the turn again. So far things are going smooth. We got some limited supply. We got some supply issues here and there. As we feared, our tank has been cut off. But then again, it lured their tank into a vulnerable position, so we should be able to take it out next turn, or at least damage it considerably. The enemy MG foxholes are firing at us. A whole lot of damage. Taking some artillery fire, but so far I think it's all manageable, really. And again, this is a community-created scenario, which is actually downloaded in-game thanks to the new tool that allows you to download extra content directly from within the game itself, which was available with the patch that was released today. So it's definitely worth a try with the new patch. And of course, we're doing this in celebration of the Mac release. So if you already owned the game, you can now also own the Mac version, actually, which is very nice. If you're waiting for the game to come to Mac, it's there now. It's there now with a 10% discount. So just hit the banner below the stream over here, and you'll be taken directly to the product page of the game where you can purchase it. It's available both on Steam and in our own stores, and if you buy from us, you'll be able to get a Steam key as well. So you own both a DRM-free version and a Steam version. So if you're into the Pacific War, into naval combat, this is a very interesting title to pick up, really. Get some nice island hopping scenarios. The supply system adds a lot of strategy and a lot of need for planning without making it overly complicated. So there's a very good balance of detail, historical accuracy, and at the same time playability. So there we go. So we finally got this supply point fully, I think. So because our units are in supply again. So that means we got a whole bunch of supplies pouring through now. If we hit the space button, we can see it's producing 20 supplies and pushing it down. And we're going to bring our armor down. And that's going to be helping out very soon. So things are really looking up for us. Kick the enemy out. And if we can align with these guys. Unfortunately, we weren't able to destroy them. I was hoping to get a decent line going here. But that's fine, that can be done next turn as well. taking out units that are left behind enemy or behind our lines. So enemy units that are out of supply here and here. So that's just a matter of time. And we're pushing further. And this one is about will start producing supplies in a couple of turns as well, but at the moment it's not producing anything. Let's see if we can scout ahead a bit. Oops, actually drove right into an enemy anti-tank gun while in our transports, so then we're obviously more vulnerable to anti-tank fire, so that's gonna hurt us a bit. That's nice. Dealt with that. Got some infantry over here. Alright, let's go here and let's save our tank. Right, so we chased out that tank, that's going well. And supply lines are restored, at least for now. We brought on our artillery, so next turn we should be able to really pound these units, these foxholes, these guys down south, and we should be able to clear up resistance and hopefully link up pretty soon actually. That would be very nice. So that would have a nearly continuous front to the north. Let's get some eyes over here. Mainly using my airplanes as scouts at the moment, but they're not scouting a whole bunch other than empty terrain. Bring out ashore our artillery. Taking out the foxhole, so these guys are in supply now as well, or at least they will be next turn. Dealing with some enemy stragglers. And that's going well. So it seems like we've pretty much secured this tip. There's still this artillery piece over here, but again, it's completely unsupported. So once we start pushing down in the next couple of turns, they will be dealt with fairly easily. So moving further south, let's land an extra unit up there, supported by a destroyer, so we'll be able to have. And here we are really going to need some extra supply some way, because they're still in half supply only. This is actually a supply point, so we're going to have to try and take that as sooner rather than later. So let's take it. It's well defended actually, which is inconvenient. If we can deal with the tank, though. I was hoping we could take it out, but not, so it would be unable to launch a counterattack, or at least to be annoying in raiding our supply lines. But it seems like it's weakened enough. I might actually... no, I already used that unit. Let's gamble on some naval bombing. Poor tank is taking an awful lot of pounding, but yeah, there it goes. There it goes. Very good. So it seems like all the units they have left here are relatively static or unsupported anti-tank guns. Destroyer. I should have moved that up earlier. Provides just a bit of extra supply, which is a strain on these units. There we go. That's one foxhole less. And that concludes this turn, I think. So, on to turn 5. As you can see, this is a fairly large scenario, so we won't be able to finish it tonight. I think we can get it in one more turn or so. So far it seems like we're doing okay-ish. We won the Battle of the Beaches, so to speak. The Battle of the Inland could be fairly tricky, because as you can see, the island is, the way the scenario is set up with the skill set, the island is fairly large, meaning that it's impossible to cover the entire front with all your troops. So there's always the fear of being outflanked or being outmaneuvered or being having your supply lines cut. So that's definitely something to be wary of. That's definitely something that could make this scenario fairly difficult, as well as the sheer distance of the final victory point. At least at this point, it seems like the enemy doesn't have the capability to properly rally or to launch a counterattack. The units they have close by are relatively low on health, or are on lower efficiency. We prioritize their armor very well, so they are relatively weak. And we are not losing a whole bunch of units, we're losing points, just like this unsupported artillery here, which is actually a major error on my part. But we haven't lost any full units yet, as far as I know. So that's well. Continue to move south, these guys. I'm not sure I did that last turn, but that's fine. And try and take revenge over here. Flat to the inlands. Let's push for the supply depot. Taking... we found the enemy. I'm trying to get a link up by the road. There we go. So these guys are actually going to be out of supply soon as well, or even destroyed by my artillery. There we go. And look at this, guys. We got full control now over the north. That is, of course, if the enemy isn't expecting this and waiting for the nice ambush. I'm gonna be very bold again. The enemy armor just doesn't seem to want to die. But at least for now, we have a nice line throughout the front, so supplies can be shared. Soften them up a bit. Take them out. Excellent. And here we're starting to pour down as well. And look at this, all these guys in full supply. Here there's still a lag, so I hope I can link up sooner rather than later. But we got this coming as a supply source as well. Let's use our infantry to... Wow, they really got a lot of foxholes over here. That's right, the game isn't off right now, so it's a great time to pick it up. The new patch added a good number of things. Actually, one of the things that I completely forgot to mention up until now, let's see if we can fix that, is one of the nice addition Lucas, the lead developer on the game, added, or from the Artistocrats, is some further customization. So if we... one second over here. If we hit the I button over here, we can actually add skins to units. So there are a couple of standard skins, and you can add these to your units to make them feel more unique. Again, there is carryover in the campaign, so you take your core units from mission to mission. So you can add different camo patterns to your guys, as you can see here. Lucas also made one especially for me to show off the feature very clearly. There we go. So you can, this is to show that you can easily mod these. You can actually will be able to download some of them from the menu we saw earlier. So from in-game you'll be able to download them, select them from different tanks and units. So there you go. That's also one of the nice flavor features, as I like to call them, of the game. So you get some nice camo patterns there. Something you might enjoy. So having done that pink, yes, that was made especially for me, so please don't copy it. And having moved all our units, we're gonna hit the end turn and see what the enemy comes up with, and then we're gonna call it a day for now. We might be back with the game pretty soon. I'm not too sure about the current schedule. If there's high demand for the game, we will of course continue this game in the future. If you want to see how it plays out. And we're gonna see just if the enemy manages to reorganize some sort or do some push. They're gonna break our lines. That's fine. Yes, you can definitely add a rainbow skin if you want there. You can have some nice custom figures, and they will manage to get over any armored unit you wish. So that's very nice touch. And again, a way to really make your special units, your elite units, stand out from the crowd. So there we go. We can see the enemy trying to put some more pressure, but so far we're doing pretty well. It's just going to take some time cleaning up all these foxholes over here and the static units. Other than that, I think we were fairly well on schedule. We still had about 30 turns. In 6 turns only, we managed to capture the entire north section of the beach. So I think we were doing fairly well. We had some requisition points to call on supplies, or to call on reinforcements. So yeah, that was a pretty good game so far, at least. So that's all we have in store for you today. We will be back next week with another stream. I'd like to thank you all for watching, thank you all for your questions and for your involvement in the chat. And again, the game is out now on Mac. There's a new patch available. There's tons of community content you can access right now, and there is a mod manager in the game as well. So lots of new stuff, lots of good stuff, and a 10% discount for those who order this week, celebrating the Mac release. So please go ahead and try and buy the game if you like what you saw here, and if you want to see more, please leave a comment and leave a message, and or any other feedback you might have. So thank you all for watching today. We're going to see you again next week with a different game, and hopefully you'll be joining us again. Alright, goodbye.